Howdy, this is Severely Zero of the Zero Network Research Team. I am making this video to clarify some things that we've learned about the interaction radiuses for normal ghosts and the twins. The interaction radiuses have been a large focus of the ZN group's research over the last few months. And we have found a lot of information. We've done some really conclusive testing to find a lot of different things, but new information has come to light. We've done a little bit more testing, and we want to share those findings in the perspective of the testing that we've already done. So I want to first clarify that the numbers that we found are not wrong. They're just incomplete. And we're going to go over the correct numbers in this video. So a few months ago, we had been asked to test the interaction radiuses of normal ghosts. Now, we had been told that the range was 3 meters, and no one was quite sure what that number meant. So we tested it and found that the interaction radius is 1.5 meters. And we did this test on Bleasdale in the attic. We had set up a pile of salt in the center of a circle. The silver flashlights that you see here are the 1.5 meter radius, and then we had stuck some paint cans outside of that radius. And the idea is that the ghost steps in the salt, we hit a pin on the voodoo doll, and it would throw a can, or it wouldn't, showing where that interaction radius was. So I'll show you what we found here. So you can see that it didn't do anything. And that was what we were somewhat expecting, that it wasn't going to do anything outside that radius, but it would do stuff inside. And we show that later in the video. If I can find it. It should get thrown. So inside the 1.5 meter radius, it's able to throw things. And so from this video, we had made the conclusion that the interaction radius for normal ghosts on small maps was 1.5 meters. Now, I do want to point out a couple of errors that we made on this test. If I can find a good view of it. So, two things. You'll notice that the paint cans are quite a ways away from the 1.5 meter range. So we weren't actually testing if it was a 1.5 meter radius. We were more of testing that it wasn't a 3 meter radius. And the second thing that we failed to do on this one is spread the cans out more. You'll notice that they're quite concentrated in that one direction and they're not surrounding us. This is an important detail for later, but that's some of the issues that we had with this one. Not that the 1.5 is completely wrong, it's just incomplete. Now, fast forward to today, we were working on a video that would explore the interaction radius of the twins. We figured this was going to be easiest to do on a large map or a medium map. And we were on Sunny Meadows. We had a twin in the examination room, and we were using the different rooms in the restricted hallway to measure the different ranges. Now, I'm not going to show you the entire video because it's very long, but the links for this video and the previous video will be in the description so that you can watch them. We are going to unlist them though, so that they can't be found through a normal search, because we don't want to be spreading that information if it's not entirely correct. But in this case, we had tested in the 12 meter to 16 meter radius and determined that we weren't seeing anything, but in the 12 meter to 6 meter radius, we were consistently getting things. So this was our first test at the 16 meter radius mark. So it's been quite some time and we haven't seen any interactions in room 3, which is the one where we're testing in between the 12 meter interaction radius, which is right just past this wall, to the 16 meter, which is past this wall just a little bit. So it is hard to prove a negative, but I feel like if we can move this jar back into room 4 towards the wall and have it interact with it quite quickly, that the 12 meters is most likely our best bet. And it doesn't take very long. Be in its room, so we're good. So it doesn't take very long for the ghost to interact with this jar. And in times before, we had seen it interact with that jar quite a bit. And so we knew that the 12-meter radius was very plausible. Now, just for whatever reason, I went back into the 16-meter radius to test if it really was the case. Now, it's said previously, watch those tools, they're important. It's interacting at a 16-meter radius. We're in room 3, and it is interacting with the tools that are on this wall. This was very surprising to us because we had heard from other research groups and from other people that the interaction radius may have been 12 meters. And so we were expecting to find that. So we were very surprised when we got an interaction at 16 meters. And because of the current understanding when we made this video, we had made the conclusion that it was a 16-meter radius, that the number that the devs had given us originally was correct. But that wasn't exactly the case once we got some more information. In a stream with Lavender, one of the developers, someone had asked Lavender what the extended range was for the twins. It's a big question in the research community. We want to get some solid answers and have a way to definitively prove it. He wasn't so sure about the actual numbers, but he gave some information that we had heard before, but really couldn't test definitively. But the hand gestures that he makes it makes it very apparent that the ranges that the ghost can interact in are not circles, they're boxes. And this is a huge distinction and explains a lot of the odd behavior that we were seeing. So I'll let you see that part of the video where he's describing that it's a box.
So, but if imagine it this, it'd be double this way, double this way, double that way, double this way.
So what does this mean? Well, this means that there's going to be points on that box as it rotates where the corner of the box is going to slide over an item and it's able to interact with it as it's rotating. Meaning that the radius it's not a radius, it's a box. And this describes some of the oddities that we were seeing and why the first test wasn't completely accurate. So the numbers that we have are somewhat describing parts of the whole picture. So we went back and we did some testing to continue the research on the standard interaction. So we're back in Bleasdale, and this time we have set the cans up just barely outside the 1.5 with a little bit of wiggle room, so if it steps off the salt, it's not gonna like mess up the results terribly. We also made sure that we had cans all the way around this circle so that if it is a box, a corner had a much higher chance of catching one of those cans and allowing the interaction to happen. We did a very similar setup where we had salt, but this time we made sure that the ghost had UV. That way when it steps in the salt, we could track its UV footsteps to see how far away it stepped when the actual pin got pushed. But here's an example of it throwing a can outside of the 1.5 meter interaction radius because the corner was over it. We've done a little bit of testing, and I'll inject this here, that the direction the ghost is facing is perpendicular to the direction the footprint is facing. So in this case, the ghost is facing at a certain angle, and you can see that if it were facing that way, that the corner of its box would fall over that particular can. So we check for footsteps, and we can show that there are no UV footsteps, so it stayed on the salt when we hit the pin. And from the direction that it's facing this can-ish, which would put the box like this over that can. And it did. But there were other times in the same video where it was angled a little bit differently, where it would be facing in between two cans and the box would miss everything and it wouldn't throw anything. So we felt like this test was pretty solid for showing that it's a box and not a circle. Now, we have to analyze all the tests because we feel like they were a good base, but what do they mean in the context of the ranges being boxes and not circles? We have created a graphic to try and help explain what we're seeing. So we know that they're boxes, and the 1.5 meter radius that we had found and that had been told to us is actually the distance from the center of the box to the edge of the box. And we know from the third test we did that the corners extend past that and can hit cans if it's rotated correctly. Similar with the interaction box for the twins on small maps, we were told it was 8, and we're wondering if different people gave different numbers and they just ended up getting paired together. Because originally we were told 3 meters, which happens to be the entire width of the box. And then we were told 8 meters for the range for the twins, which happens to be the effective radius from the center to the far corner of its box. Now, this explains, at least on the medium and large maps, what we were seeing in the second video. We were consistently able to get interactions from the twins at the 12 meter mark. The first time we were in that room, we were getting interactions. When we went back to that room, we were getting interactions. And we're like, oh yeah, 12 meters. But we showed in the video that we sat there for 10 minutes in the 16 meter range and didn't have anything, which is super bizarre given that this particular twin used its ability like 40 some odd times, and it was doing it all the time outside of that 10 meter range. Now, when we have that one moment where it does catch something in that room at the 16 meter mark, it does touch it. It is 16 meters. But what's likely happening is the 12 meter mark fits everywhere inside the box. But the 16 meter mark is only going to get caught if the corner of that particular interaction range is over the item that was being interacted with. So that second time we were in that range, the twin had likely turned in such a way that it could interact with it. And that's why we were seeing such mixed results between the two radiuses, but we were still able to observe a 16 meter throw and then lots of 12 meter throws. So for the purpose of simplicity and how the Zero Network team is going to address this, we acknowledge that the ranges are boxes. That is the reality of it. That is how it works. There's going to be oddities that surround it. But because the boxes can rotate with the ghost, that outer corner of any box is going to rotate to create a circle. And we are going to keep reporting these numbers as the radiuses of the interaction. But based on the new information that's given, for the small standard interaction range, from the center to the edge is 1.5 meters, which gives it an effective radius of 2.12 meters. And for the twins on small maps, the distance from the center to the edge is 6 meters, which is the numbers we've been seeing from other teams, gives us an effective radius of 8.48 meters, which is pretty close to 8, which is the numbers we were originally given from the devs. And then on medium and large maps, we'll do the same sort of calculations, 3 meters from the center to the edge on the standard one, giving an effective radius of 4.24 meters, and for the extended twins radius, or the extended twins range from the center to the edge is 12 meters, which is the number that we've been seeing from the other research teams, gives us an effective radius of 16.97 meters, which is pretty close to the 16 meters that we were given originally. So I hope this video clears up a lot of the confusion here, and it shows that all the numbers that have been tossed around work to describe the same thing, but no one really took the time to sit down and draw it this way, because I've not seen a diagram of the interaction radiuses that describe it the way we have. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully it makes sense. We are going to continue discussing this. It is very likely that these particular interaction radiuses will be added to the cheat sheet and the map explorer because we are able to show that they are these distances and the logic makes sense. So if you have any more research that you want us to do, come find us on our Discord. I will link it down in the description, or you can find a link to it on the cheat sheet on the right-hand side if you're in the desktop view. And we hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.